The time, order. The time has expired for the speech portion. We'll now go to the questions to the minister, if the member would like to pose a question.
With the main estimates before us, it's clear that Immigration, Refugee and Citizenship Canada is focused on critical programs to support newcomers, success while restoring balance to our system. Could the minister elaborate on why funding programs like the Interim Federal Health Program and the Interim Housing Assistance Plan is so important to the vitality of our programs?
The Honourable Minister.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chair. First of all, allow me to thank the Honourable Member from Moncton Dieppe for her thoughtful and accurate comments, as well as her advocacy and her being a champion not only for her community but for many members who are here in Parliament, including myself, for the last number of years. Through Budget 2024, the government invested $411.2 million in the Federal Health Program for 2024-25, topping up existing funding, ensuring that refugees and asylum claimants, as well as other uniquely vulnerable foreign nationals, have access to health care coverage to address urgent and essential medical needs. There was a further $232.9 million provided through 2024-25 supplementary estimates B. Taking into account all funding sources, the total health federal interim program allocations for 2024-25 were $896.5 million. These cover the cost of basic health services like hospital and physician care, aligned with provincial and territorial health insurance, and limited supplemental health services, example, mental health counseling, disability support. The coverages also provide to specific migrant groups, including resettled refugees. So thank you very much for that question.
The Honourable Member from Moncton Dieppe.
Thank you so much, and I would like to take a moment to thank the Minister for that response. As we all know in this House, immigration is certainly crucial to our communities, and I can tell you in Atlantic Canada, we certainly see that we are in need of a population increase because we are seeing a population decline. But we also want to ensure that we set up our immigrants for success. So I understand that we are stabilizing immigration levels in the next few years, while also committed to reducing temporary immigration to less than 5% of total national population by 2027. Could the minister outline the work that we are doing to achieve this commitment, and why is it so important for Canada?
The Honourable Minister.
Chair, temporary residents enrich Canada's economy and cultural fabric. So this government is committed to reduce temporary immigration growth to better align with the needs of our labour market, housing supply, and community capacity. So in order to accomplish this, a study permit cap has been introduced, and eligibility requirements for work permits have been tightened, including reduced intake of spouses accompanying workers and students. These measures emphasize quality over quantity, helping to ensure that Canada continues to be able to attract the talent that it needs in order to grow and prosper. So we're committed to sustainable immigration levels to Canada.
Member.
Thank you so much, Mr. Chair. And again, a quick question for the minister. How are we striking the balance between slowing down temporary immigration while ensuring Canada has the talent we need to build for success?
Yeah, Minister.
Very much, Chair. Again, this government is committed to sustainable immigration levels. So we are calibrating the volume of immigrants to help alleviate some pressure on the housing demand. And so IRCC is stabilizing the permanent residents as well as the temporary admissions to less than 1% of Canada's population annually beyond 2027. We are focusing on attracting the global talent from around the world in order to drive our economy and prosperity. Thank you.
The Honourable Member, 20 seconds or less.
I would first of all simply like to thank the Minister for being here this evening and answering the many questions that we have for the main estimates. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Resuming debate, the Honourable Member for Calgary Nose Hill.
Thank you, Chair. I'll be splitting my time three ways. Chair, I have an article here from CBC wherein the Minister of Immigration asked the federal government to fully eliminate the cap on new immigrants, no limit. Does she still believe that there should be no limits on how many people enter Canada?
Thank you very much, Mr. Chair, and thank you for taking my first question today and estimates from that member. So I've been the minister for a total of about 3 weeks already, and I don't recall saying statements like that. Thank you.
Well, again, I have the CBC article right here. She asked for a full removal of caps on immigrants. Would she agree that the amount of people coming into Canada must be immediately and massively reduced? Massively reduced.
The Honourable Minister.
So, Mr. Chair, again, we are managing our targets. We have committed to reduce both our permanent residents and our temporary allocations. We have at 2025, 27 levels.
Well, member.
But she hasn't. The government is letting in hundreds of thousands of foreign students, temporary foreign workers. Why is she persisting in letting in hundreds of thousands of people when Canada is in the middle of a healthcare crisis?
Minister.
Speaker, we are working towards sustainable immigration by reducing our temporary resident numbers as well as our permanent residents. We have tabled the 2-year levels plan, and it is there for the
Member.
But that's baloney. All the statistics show that they've actually increased those numbers. And meanwhile, Canadians can't get into an emergency room. Why are they persisting in bringing in hundreds of thousands of students and temporary foreign workers on temporary visas when people can't find jobs?
Minister.
Be completely, let's use the facts here. Her numbers are totally inaccurate. There's been 290,000 net new arrivals into Canada through the International Student Program. I don't know where she comes up with numbers. I would contextualize the numbers that she seems to read.
Is it for you, Mr. Chair? The reality is that there were way less than 290,000 housing starts last year, and there's a lot more than 290,000 people waiting for family doctors right now. Why is she persisting in raising immigration levels when people can't find a doctor or a job?
Yeah, Minister.
So, Mr. Chair, again, I would say we are working on sustainable immigration. We have committed to reduce the temporary numbers as well as our permanent residency numbers. Canada.
The Honourable Member.
Not sustainable is that there's 500,000 people, roughly 500,000 people as of December who need to be removed from the country. How many have been removed?
The Honourable Minister.
Again, Mr. Chair, I say to you, those numbers are taken way out of context.
The Honourable Member.
I would ask her to say that to somebody who can't find housing in Toronto right now. There are 500,000 people at least in Canada who have no legal reason to be here. How many have been removed since this report came out in December?
The Honourable Minister.
So, Mr. Chair, we recognize there are challenges in our housing and infrastructure. That is why we have tabled the levels plan that works on sustainable immigration. We are reducing our permanent residency number.
The Honourable Member.
Let's talk about challenges. Our ERs are overflowing. People can't find homes or jobs. And the levels report has immigration going up. How many people have been removed of the 500,000 that are on deportation orders that were announced in December?
The Honourable Minister.
Mr. Chair, to be clear, when people's visa expire, they are expected to leave the country. That is a question for CBSA and the Minister of Public.
Honourable Member.
Not leaving the country. That's the problem. They're not leaving. And she won't tell us how many have been removed. What's the plan to get them to leave?
The Minister.
So, Mr. Chair, again, to you, through you, to the member. We have rules in this country, and we expect people to follow those rules.
Member.
Being followed. Does she not understand that if we do not remove people who do not have a legal right to be here, that the system is meaningless? Will she admit that the system, they broke it and it's out of control?
The Honourable Minister.
Mr. Chair, CBSA is in charge of removals. I would suggest that she should be asking the Public Safety Minister the questions on that. Again, I say to you, we have rules.
The Honourable Member for Saskatoon West.
The government's entire immigration plan is based on temporary residents leaving Canada voluntarily. How many non-permanent residents does the government expect to leave Canada in the next 3 years?
Minister.
So, Mr. Chair, people coming to Canada temporarily to work, to study,
What is the number that are supposed to leave in your plan in the next 3 years?
The Chair, the Honourable Minister.
those people whose visas have expired are expected to be leaving.
The member.
And have voluntarily left.
Again, those numbers would be for public safety. People whose visas are expired, if they have not renewed, and there are many people that renewed their...
The Honourable Member.
How can you set immigration targets, Minister, if you don't know how many people have left the country?
The Chair, the Honourable Minister.
So, Chair, CBSA and public safety are in charge of those exit numbers.
Member.
Last year's annual immigration plan forecast nearly 1.3 million non-permanent residents would leave Canada. How many have left so far this year?
Honourable Minister.
Chair, I say to you again, people leaving the country, the exits are managed by CBS.
Member.
Okay, let's go a different way. The same report predicted a net decrease of non-permanent residents of about 450,000 people. Are you on track to achieve this number for 2024?
The Honourable Minister.
We know for the first quarter, we have reduced our numbers at well below the targeted rate.
The Honourable Member.
In fact, Stats Canada currently shows just over 3 million non-permanent residents in Canada as of March 31st. That's a 10% increase over 2024. What is the government's target for 2025?
The Honourable Minister.
All the numbers have been tabled in terms of our targets. We are exceeding those targets for the first quarter of 2025.
Honourable Member.
I beg to differ with the minister. I don't think she understands the question. There are 3 million people, non-permanent residents in Canada right now. What was the target for 2025?
The Honourable Minister.
Chair, we have begun to the decline for the first quarter of 2025 to 7.2%.
The Honourable Member.
So the number is 7.2%, thank you. And what was the target percentage for this year, Minister?
The Honourable Minister.
Again, Chair, we have met and exceeded the target for the first quarter of 2025.
Honourable Member.
Well, you have exceeded the number because according to Stats Can, we have over 3 million people. Your target was 2.5 million people. How are you going to achieve a 500,000 reduction in the balance of this year?
Questions to the Chair, the Honourable Minister.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Our 2027 target is 5% of Canada's population. We are working.
The Honourable Member.
So the October annual report estimated the total Canadian population for 2025. Can the minister tell me if that number was higher or lower than 2024?
The Honourable Minister.
Is the member asking me what Canada's population number is of people that live in Canada?
Member. The Honourable Minister.
Well, I mean, it's we know what it's in 40-some million people. I don't have the
The Honourable Member.
Yes, I'll help the minister. It was published in your report last fall, and it got a lot of coverage because it implied that the population of Canada was going to decrease. So the question is, are we on track to achieve that reduction in population?
Member or Minister.
So we are on track to meet the target that we have set for our immigration number, and that is to reduce the overall number of permanent and temporary residents into this country.
The Honourable Member.
Just to help the minister, according to the Stats Canada, we're at 41.7 million right now. That's 200,000 more than the end of last year and 500,000 more than your plan. What are you doing to make sure that you achieve your plan for this year?
Honourable Minister.
Listen, it's a known fact that if we don't have immigration to this country, we cannot fill our labor gaps. Right. Immigration is what drives this economy. It's the people that are coming.
The Honourable Member.
So you're actually increasing the population, is that what you're saying?
The Honourable Minister.
Sure, what I have said is 2025, 27 targets have been set, have been labeled.
The Honourable Member.
Minister, would you ever alter reports to remove data?
Minister.
Sorry, say that again. I didn't hear you.
The
Would you ever
Member.
alter reports to remove data?
Well, Minister, I am the minister, so I don't believe I alter reports or do, that is not my job.
Order. The time has expired for that section. L'honorable député de Côte-du-Sud, Rivière-du-Loup, Katasquamick, Timisquata.
Merci, Monsieur le Président.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Minister, do you think we need to reduce immigration levels in Canada? And if so, quickly? If so, by how much? Please give me a number. The Minister. Thank you for that important question. Yes, it's an important question, and we are working together with officials to bring the numbers down. Yes, the honorable member. The numbers? The Minister, the numbers are already there. I've talked about it. I also spoke with my colleague, the honorable member. If the numbers are public, Madam Minister, what are they? The Minister. It's 5% of the population for 2027. The honorable member. Earlier, when we talked about the Canadian population, we weren't able to answer. So you're going to reduce 5% based on what number? The honorable minister. Thank you, Mr. Chair. 5% of the population of Canada by 2027. The member. Hundreds of thousands of people came in this year, whereas millions of Canadians don't have access to a family doctor. Why? The honorable minister. That's a question for the Minister of Health. But what I can tell you is that we're looking for doctors and nurses to help us. The member. It's funny how you're not able to answer our questions. You refer your answers to other departments. In any case, there's a lack of housing in Canada. Some people are sleeping in their cars and can't pay their rent. If you keep increasing immigration, and you keep increasing immigration levels, why? The honorable minister. Once again, I will say that it's not immigrants' fault that we have an economic crisis. We are working on this side to cut down on the number of temporary and permanent residents because we know we have a crisis. The honorable member. Unemployment's going up all over Canada. We've got about 100,000 job losses announced by the fall of this year by certain experts. And you're increasing immigration. Why do you insist on plunging newcomers into unemployment? The honorable minister. Thank you. Not at all. That's not the goal. Absolutely not. Questions must be addressed to the chair. The honorable member. So you're not answering my question. Some economists are predicting a recession by the fall, with a potential loss of 100,000 jobs impacting Ontario and Quebec. And so why are you increasing immigration levels? The honorable minister. Thank you very much, Mr. Chair. We're working very hard to manage immigration. From now until 2027, we published all the numbers, and we will cut down on the number of temporary and permanent immigrants. The member, what is the amount you're talking about? The minister. Inaudible. Thank you, Mr. Speaker. We're reducing numbers for students, for workers. We're working in all of those ways to bring the numbers down. The honorable member. How many people in Canada are being removed from the country right now? Do you have a number? The honorable minister. Thank you. I can say that that's a question for the Minister of Public Health, the honorable member. Another minister. In December, 400,000 people were waiting. That was December of last year. That's the equivalent of the city of Laval in Quebec. And you lost track of 30,000 of those referrals. How many are actually going to leave the country? The Honorable Minister. Once again, when it comes to people who leave, is a question for the Minister of Public Safety. But we work closely with our counterparts. Order.
Hello, sir. Resuming debate, the Honourable Parliamentary Secretary to the Government House Leader.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, or Mr. Speaker. I really do appreciate the opportunity. I'll be going 10 and 5, just for the record, Mr. Speaker. I really do believe that the Prime Minister truly understands the economics of immigration. And it's really encouraging to the degree, whether it's the throne speech or the mandate letters, where he incorporates the idea of sustainable immigration levels. That is not necessarily a new term for me. In fact, Mr. Speaker, during the 90s, I often talked about that inside the Manitoba legislature. To get an appreciation of the value of immigration, something in which I don't believe the Conservatives understand, is to actually take a look at the overall numbers and figure out what is in the best interest of the country. And it is making sure that you get that mix correct. So, for example, if you take a look back into Manitoba and the history of Manitoba during the 90s, when I was an MLA going into the 2000, 2006, 2007 era, immigration really changed. It changed a great deal because take a look in terms of the early 90s. Our average numbers were probably some in the neighborhood of, let's say, 3,000, 3,500, give or take a few hundred. For many of us, that was too low of a number. We wanted to see more coming to the province of Manitoba. And in fact, it made our population somewhat stagnant. And it wasn't until Jean Chrétien and Gary Filmon actually came to the table with the provincial nominee program. And that has been like an economic gold mine for the province of Manitoba. Because through that particular program, a program that I'm very passionate about, Manitoba needs the nominee program. It is very much reliant on that program. And what we saw was that for the first time, Manitoba's numbers actually increased, and increased quite dramatically. Back in the 90s, I was suggesting that we should have somewhere in the neighborhood of a 1% of our provincial population, Mr. Speaker. Figuring that if you get the mixture right, it is in fact a sustainable immigration number. And that's what we were able to achieve because we used the nominee program as an economic driver, which then complemented the other streams that the federal government had in place. As a direct result of being able to manage that program, having that agreement between Canada and Manitoba, we were able to enhance our immigration numbers to the degree in which, if it were not for that nominee program, arguably Manitoba's population would be nowhere where it is today. In fact, some would argue that we actually could have lost our population. When I listen to the Conservatives across the way, the first series of questions that they ask, and I would invite people to read what it is that they were asking, they do come across as very anti-immigrant, Mr. Speaker. That concerns me, because I'll tell you, it was immigrants that helped build this country that we have today. If I take a look at the last 20, 30 years in the province of Manitoba, where we have seen the substantial growth of our Filipino heritage community in Manitoba and our Punjabi heritage community and other communities, but those two communities have led the way. Take a look in terms of healthcare. Healthcare was being discussed a great deal, or our manufacturing industry, or the new entrepreneurs that are opening up and developing and in fact building homes, Mr. Speaker. I think that we do need to be sensitive to the different regions, different provinces, rural versus urban. It's important to recognize that temporary immigrants play a critical role in food security. We need to have temporary visas that enable individuals to come and help us out in our rural communities so that we can provide the type of food that we're providing, not only locally, but in fact to the world, Mr. Speaker. These are the types of things, if you really want to get into the discussion about immigration, there's far more positives than there are negatives. When you think in terms of the situation that we're into today, you got to factor in the circumstances that brought us to this particular point. Whether it was the pandemic, whether it was the drive from post-secondary universities and provinces in different regions of the country demanding more temporary residents, the pandemic ultimately led to more temporary workers. There's a reason why it's taken place in the manner in which it has, Mr. Speaker. The system is not broken. Yes, we need to take actions to make sure that we can continue in a sustainable way. As the Prime Minister has said, it's about having an immigration levels that is sustainable and making sure that we get the mixture right, Mr. Speaker. And we need to be sensitive, as I say, about our rural communities that need those temporary workers. We need to be sensitive to those post-secondary institutions that are trying to build often a reputation, a world reputation on the type of education that is provided in these facilities. I recognize that there was a lot of abuse in that area also, Mr. Speaker. There's things that we can learn. We need to work with provinces in a closer fashion. We need to be able to recognize that there are some issues that are there that need to be dealt with, but to put one brush and to say that, look, this is an action that you have to take and it's universally applied across the nation, I don't think is fair. Instead, I believe that we should establish goals, as the Minister of Immigration has done. I don't know how many times she has said that, look, we have these goals and we are moving towards these goals. I think that is a responsible approach. It complements what the Prime Minister is saying. And I'll repeat it again. It's a sustainable immigration levels. We know that we have many immigrants here that are permanent residents that will actually get married from a spouse abroad. Canadian citizens that get married from people or find partners from outside of Canada. That's a very important category, and we got to continue to allow those individuals to be able to come to our country as permanent residents. We have to continue to allow temporary workers to be able to come to deal with those issues such as our agricultural communities. I'd like to hear some of the rural conservatives stand in their place and say, no, don't allow any temporary workers come to Canada. You know the damage that would do to our economy, Mr. Speaker? Immigration is there if we can get a hold and have sustainable immigration levels to complement our economy, to build Canada into a stronger, healthier economy. So whether it's the Prime Minister or it's the Minister of Immigration, both of them understand that. Both of them understand that we have goals that have to be met, and in certain situations, it can be very difficult. Because remember, when the Conservatives make these demands, there is a face on the other side of that particular demand, Mr. Speaker. And I think that we need to be sympathetic and compassionate in recognizing that. I would like to believe that through the years, as we've built a very strong nation to date, that immigration has played a critical role. The minister has been in there, I think, 3-4 weeks to date, and I've appreciated the discussions that we've had, and I appreciate the fact that she's been putting in the time and energy to make sure that we establish those goals and to work towards achieving those goals. So I guess if I was to ask the minister a question, Mr. Speaker, it would be on the importance to recognize that sustainable immigration levels, as the Prime Minister has said, plays a critical role in building a stronger and healthier country. And if she can provide her thoughts in regards to how important it is that we achieve that.
The Honourable Minister.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chair. And I do want to thank the honourable member from Winnipeg North for all his reflection, his accurate information. Immigration is indeed is key to growing our economy and strengthening our communities. It is one that all provinces, and I've talked to provinces and territories since I've become a minister, that are responsible for immigration, and believe me, they all agree on that. Canadians rightfully want a robust and sustainable immigration system that sets Canada and all who come here for success. And that is the reason why the 2025-27, the 2-year levels plan was set, and it does exactly that. You know, prior than the last year, these levels plan were yearly, so I was very proud to see the former government set the 2-year plan. We are reducing the number of temporary and permanent residents in the short term to alleviate the pressures that were caused on housing and infrastructure. That is the reality, that is the facts. After COVID, many people came to Canada through many ways, and there was a stress and strain on our system. With the crisis globally happening, the asylum system as well, we know that we have strain. So the measures that we are taking will achieve the long-term growth, and a well-managed, sustainable immigration system is exactly where everybody has a chance to succeed, is the one that this government and myself as the new minister for the last, less than 4 weeks. In fact, I was only sworn in as an MP exactly not even 15 days ago. My photo is not even up yet. So we are doing what needs to be done and what Canadians voted